Hi, it's Chris from Expressive E. Thank you very much for coming to see us. Gaz Williams here for Sonicstate. And finally, it's here.
It's here, yes. I'm super pumped to bring it to you. The Osmose expressive synthesizer.
Yes, from Expressive E. Now, we've been waiting a long time for this, but it's finally finished. Backers are receiving it right now.
Yes,
so those original people who invested in that will be receiving this right now. And so when will it be available for everybody else then?
So we're going to take the first quarter, something like that, to deliver all to the backers who backed our project already since the end of 2019. So thanks for that again. And we think about entering the regular market now in the second quarter, 2023, something like that. So the production is running at the moment.
Fantastic. So I should mention from the top though, there will be more playing examples and more presets in the Patreon. So make sure you check out that.
Thanks guys. Just want to interrupt briefly to say thank you very much to GPU Audio for sponsoring this video. There's a short message from them just now and then we'll get straight back to it. GPU Audio have announced their next generation technology now supports Mac OS with a free FIR convolution reverb compatible with Apple M1 and M2 machines. It's available now and is made possible by the immense processing capability of your GPU. They unveiled the first in a beta suite of plugins for Windows users too, starting off with a modulation bundle featuring chorus, phaser and flanger, with more bundles to come early this year. GPU Audio have an SDK on the way, giving third-party developers the power to explore and create the next generation of audio plugins and effects. Get access to all of their free plugins for Mac OS and Windows by visiting gpu.audio/Sonicstate.
So let's just imagine that people don't know what this is. What is it?
It's we'd like to say it's like a revolutionary keyboard instrument in the sense that it's a polyphonic synthesizer with the new keybed that we invented to kind of get around the disadvantages that players of electronic keyboard-driven instruments had until now. And the disadvantages was that you would only play a note and let go of it, and had no possibility of shaping the sounds like a singer does, or like someone who plays a brass instrument does, or someone who plays a bass does. Who can do vibrato in the strings. So we took the regular form factor of a keybed and then added additional axes of control to it that are quite intuitive. So first thing, I can only barely scrape the surface of the key and it's already going to trigger a sound. And it's going to detect how deep I press the key at any given time. Then, even after this pressure phase, I have a second after touch. And then I can do sideways motion to, most of the cases I would control the pitch with it. And the thing that is cool about it is that it's independent for each of the notes. So I could go there, change the amplitude or filter or whatever is assigned for every note individually. And I could also so this opens up a myriad of accessibility, of expressivity to the people who use it.
So Expressive E then, with their first product, hardware product being the Touché, which was very much about expressive control. This is what the company seems to be about, and with the software releases as well, being very open to being manipulated in many ways. This now feels like the culmination of the way everything's been heading.
It kind of builds up on the thing that we did in the past. So our goal is really to offer new ways of interacting. Instead of doing emulations of stuff, we try to bring some innovation into a field where, there's been so much development on the sound engine side of things, so many crazy, super cool synthesizers coming out. But still, the way we play them has always been like on-off switches for the big amount of time. So it's really interesting to kind of level that interfacing human-machine thing up to the capabilities of modern sound design nowadays.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And we should mention that this isn't just a controller, this is a standalone instrument. The sounds are inside this. You don't need to be connected to a computer. So, I think that's one of the really special things about that, because the sound engine then is the Eagan Matrix from Harken Audio, and we can see Harken Audio's name on the front panel here. Can you tell us a little bit about that sound engine and what makes that the perfect match for this?
Yeah, for sure. So this has been like a collaboration with Harken Audio, as you already mentioned. They're pioneers in synthesis engines, or also in playing surface, because there are these Harken Continuum fingerboards around since quite a long time already, and they're really, they open up new ways of interacting with sounds and having it really follow every minimal gesture of your playing. And for us, where we come with this instrument more from a traditional keyboard form factor, it was paramount to have some engine that could actually handle all the real-time, the streaming data that is coming from the playing interface. And the Eagan Matrix is just the perfect partner for this, because it, on a sub-millisecond frequency, it can regard all the different interactions that you make on the keyboard, and they really specialized in this kind of interpretation of gesture data. And very cool for us is they offer so much different synthesis engines. There's subtractive synthesis, there's additive synthesis, there are different kinds of physical modeling, waveguide, frequency modulation stuff.
Wow,
It's like it's a digital modular synthesizer, like inspired by things like the Synth EMS, by the ARP 2500, where you have patch points, but not only patch points, but you can insert formulas and have everything controlled by the gestures that you do. So this makes it possible to have such a close interaction with sound. Let me give you just an example.
Some examples, yeah.
Things like this wouldn't be possible if the sound engine wouldn't be capable of interpreting all the little movements at a very high frequency
nuances,
and very high detail.
Let's have a listen to a few more sounds then, because you were mentioning then that the Eagan Matrix has all of these different types of sound engines. Can you give us just a few different examples of that?
Yeah, for sure. So we're diving into all kinds of, like more imitating natural instruments, but not in the sense that you have the exact sound of the original, but there's also some kind of innovative aspects to it. So we have something familiar, but something that goes beyond that as well. But there are also like more traditional synthesis types in there. So in this case, a lovely one for sound designers, perhaps.
So it is.
So it taps on lots of different areas of sound design. So,
and it really is quite remarkable, that sensitivity. You really do have to experience it firsthand to truly appreciate just how. I mean, I'm applying the slightest touch, and it's there. I'm barely applying any pressure.
Yeah.
That makes it incredibly musical, in my opinion. So before we dive into the menu, I'm very keen to look at the menu and what we can actually adjust and edit on board. The sounds, they lend themselves to particular kind of expressive. I mean, it's an expressive instrument, but if you were to use this, you'd probably want to have it in a very pride of place, prime spot in your studio. It still is a familiar keyboard, and you can still use it as a basic MIDI controller, should you wish. And it will work. It'll just work as a standard keyboard. So talking about sort of standard sounds, I mean, as well as these exciting sounds, does it have more kind of traditional sort of kind of
for sure.
keyboard sounds?
So, as you mentioned, in any case, besides being a fully polyphonic standalone synthesizer with all these different kinds of synthesis engines, it's also a controller that works completely downward compatible. So it will even work if you're playing like a piano library software, just as a controller. So we made sure to respect all kinds of studio and live everyday situations. But just when it comes to the sound design, we also made sure that it's not just experimental stuff that's in there. I mean, we also got some pretty standard, so to say. Keyboard sounds, especially in the FM direction, that will work really well. And even if you were too afraid to even have the slightest bending there, you would be able, just for regular situations where you don't want to have it, to disable that completely. So
just use it.
In this case, I mean, it kind of takes away the fun part of it.
Yeah.
But as we said, we really respect the skills that people build over the years. Or, I mean, you don't have to be a skillful keyboard player to get lots of fun and interaction out of it. But we are aware that there are lots of everyday situations where you would just want to go with I don't know, whether your favorite plug-in synthesizer. Yeah.
And so we've got USB on here, but we've also got standard MIDI DIN. So you could just be MIDIing out into whatever synthesizer.
There's a dedicated controller aspect to it, a controller external MIDI mode where you can decide whether you want to send MPE data,
or it's got the
just mono channel velocity keyboard. For sure.
Okay, because I can imagine that some people might be kind of a little bit worried that this is all kind of new and not relatable to what they already know, but it manages to be both. It's sort of
the biggest part of the work, well, let alone obviously the making it happen and on a hardware kind of things with all the mechanical aspects and the details of the keyboard. The biggest work was really to create an instrument that will, without you having to dive into the menu, just offer lots of satisfaction, lots of direct interactivity, lots of getting in the flow with the instrument itself. Just right away with just dialing up a sound. So basically every preset is an instrument on its own right, that you can explore in so many different ways. So whether you want to go very subtle, so some people might play like that with this sound, others would go like
very cool. So I've noticed that actually you've got a couple of pedals plugged in here. So I'm assuming there's a sustain and an expression pedal. So you can also use those in that, so a more traditional keyboard
Yeah,
player.
and we've got these two expression pedals because there's lots of interesting ways actually with the Eagan Matrix to interact with these expression pedals. Besides doing sustain, they also do sostenuto, as it's called in the classical music world. So perhaps I'm just gonna dial up an example of that because it's actually quite cool. So what I've got here on the second expression pedal input, output, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
If I go to the synth menu and I decide what I want to actually do with this second pedal, what it would normally do is control one of the synthesizer macros that are built in there for easy sound tweaking. So it does I would say some kind of wave shaping. There's probably no extra camera on my feet there, but I'm moving it right now. But what I could also do is have it use the sostenuto functionality. And in this case, it would grab the note that I'm playing. And now I've got this saved, so to say, on my foot pedal. So I'm not only able to activate it or deactivate it or hold it, I'm able to change the pressure level of it. And that frees up my hands.
So those changes that you're making with your foot is only applying to that first held note that you... Right, interesting.
Yeah, and actually there's a second sostenuto, so I could use the other pedal to add another chord or something, and then control this as well.
Wow. Nice. So we just had a little look at the menu. I think maybe we should explore this section a little bit now then, because one thing that's immediately apparent to me is how appealing the fonts, and it's a very nice screen. It's great from any angle, and it's very much in the same visual look that we've seen in Lie, the control host for the Touche. And
we try to maintain some corporate design that is recognizable.
It happens to be very attractive, and I really appreciate it. So, well, presets-wise, 500?
The 500 presets sounds coming with the instrument,
But then, as you mentioned, each one of those sounds...
It's an old world to explore. It's like you have to see it really as an instrument. So, well, instead of like counting, it has 2,000... My synthesizer has 2,000 presets. It's better than yours.
Right.
It's more about exploring each individually.
Yeah.
And for this, I can give you a brief summary of that because... People were super interested in getting to know the user interface for the first time, actually.
Yes.
So there are two modes. Start with that, where you concentrate on the internal sound engine or what is sent on the external MIDI. This video is going to be all about the internal engine. Then there are 4 menus. You have a presets menu, where you browse through the presets. This is tag-based.
So we got filters there. We can
for sure. You see whether we want to have a brass, whether you want to have keys. And then also a character where you're easily going to find, I don't know, pad. And I want to go for a lo-fi character. And I end up here.
Kind of fully clickable. All of these encoders are clickable.
Yeah, and the encoders are clickable to enable some extra functions when it comes to saving or resetting parameters.
And then we've got our sort of preset buttons here. So these move through the library, or do they move through the users? How does the
They step through the currently filtered down list.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
Yeah,
that's handy.
So it depends on what is filtered right now.
Yeah. Okay.
It's also very handy when you're using the internal user presets that you can save. So there's another tab. So this clickable encoder here is going through tabs of one menu. And there you have the 128 user slots. They're useful if you, and we'll come to that later, if you change the macros of the sound to your liking a bit, and especially if you adjusted the sensitivity of the keybed to a specific sound, because, for example, with pads, perhaps you don't want to have as much vibrato, as much pitch bending as you want to have when you're playing like an expressive flute or something like that. And you can save them in there for easy stepping through them, and also you can address them with program changes, so it's for live performances, it comes in very handy. Yeah.
But we should mention, though, that the full depth of the Eagan Matrix you can't get to from here, because it's a very complex synth, really. So the Eagan Matrix, the Eagan Matrix exists in a few different places now. You can get it in the Harken Continuum, and now as a Eurorack module as well, but also as the editing for that is like a kind of Max MSP type of...
I mean, it's an application that is standalone, both for Mac and for Windows. It's developed with Max MSP, not the engine itself, no worries at all. But the Harken editor, the entry point where all the sound design was made, and where you have the same access to the sound engine as our sound designers and sound designers from Harken Audio had. It's an application that is available for free. It's already out there, so to say, for you to use and to explore and to learn. Yeah. But it is quite a beast.
It's quite a beast.
So many different synthesis technologies built in there. So what we did, however, is additional to all the gestures, all the interactivity that you have, all the interaction that we have with the sound itself, we offer some macros to change the sound. And these macros, they're different depending on which sound is loaded, completely different. So it's up to the sound designer actually to define what these will be. So we have like these playful buttons here. I'm just gonna check. I can deactivate the arpeggiated, which will come later perhaps.
So we got a little tortoise there for envelope time.
It's sticking out his little head like this.
Little submarine for the sub. Yeah. Nice. And then so I could then tab across. So I'd move across global effects.
So these are the different tabs. So there's a macro tab with 6 macros each. There, for example, you see that this that one layer is assigned to be controlled by the mod slider here. It's also hardwired to the expression pedal number 2, which I had reassigned in the example before.
Right. Yep.
And then you have a second tab here, which are the time-based effects called recirculator in Harken Audio Speech, where you have affecting the whole sound, a reverb or delay or echo or analog echo that you can dial in as well.
So you still can. So as the presets are kind of fixed to a certain degree, but you're still able to switch out some effects. And most of change the aspects of the different sounds. Right.
So it's really independent per preset. It's just important to know that there's lots of grounds to discover, despite for the actual exact control and for programming the sound you use the editor, but it offers a good alternative, a good entry level.
So we got like a full graphical display of an EQ.
Yeah, it's just a tilt EQ, but it comes in handy if things are getting too harsh, or if it lacks some bass. So I'm
a big fan of tilt EQ.
At least, and then parallel as well. So you have like a wet dry thing going on. And then because it's so incredibly dynamic, the instrument, you have a compressor that is programmed in every patch to tame that down a little bit, and then we have the pre-gain and post-gain to get the levels right, depending on what you play. Nice. There's a voice tab. Currently, it's only there to
set it. Oh, okay. So these behave a little. These controls then. This one is sprung, which you would expect for a pitch, a pitch, and then this is typically doing your modulate. So these are essentially similar to what you would expect on a traditional keyboard with a pitch lever and a modulation.
Yeah, because thing. There's still. I mean, as we said, we want to keep it downwards compatible. There's some kind of playing styles that might be better doable with a slider. So don't know. But still, if I'm in...
Yeah. So if I could just go back there then,
Yeah,
so since
for sure.
we were on, and then this tabs across. Oh yeah, okay, voice, and then the final
pedal
part there is
assignment.
the pedal
Yeah.
assignment. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So if we press the next button along there, we get to sensitivity. Now this
becomes even more exciting right now.
Okay, sensitivity. So we can see then we got low, medium, regular, extreme, and custom.
I mean, in any case, the
Oh, this is
different
in the
tabs.
pressure.
So
Yeah.
right now we're only looking at the pressure. You can just, sorry that I got to go back sometimes, but just to have an example that works perhaps better with that. Let's go for that one. Go back to synth. To sensitivity.
Yeah.
We're already there. So what this does is it defines where actually the notes gonna be triggered for the first time. These are like MIDI range values. So if I'd go down, if I go up to, let's say 96 or whatever, you'd be required to go down quite some way on the key travel to actually trigger the note. So there might be some situations where you want to have it like that.
Yeah.
More for a traditional feel when you're afraid of already triggering a sound too early. But in most cases, it's actually fine to keep it like regular because these are like presets for the pressure tab.
Right. And so tabbing across then, we've got pressure,
please go ahead.
we've got bending. So again, this is going to apply to the left and right motion. Are those the right and left motions? Are they set? Can they do different things? Could you have something if you move the key to the right different from if you move it to the left?
When it comes to the internal sounds, most of the time, what we do is reserve this for pitch bending only. It's the implementation, but in the theory, in the matrix, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
With a sideways movement, although it's still always going to be connected to the parameter itself of the pitch or where you press the surface.
Okay.
But when it comes to the arpeggiator that we'll see on later, we have possibilities to assign the sideways movement of the left and to the right to different things.
Okay.
Switch, ratcheting, swing, yeah.
Swing, right, nice.
Stuff like this. But when it comes to the internal presets, normally that you play directly, it's always going to be
so pitch.
the pitch.
I guess it's good to have certain things that are going to standardize the experience to a certain degree.
Yeah, it also makes sense just from an intuitive view there.
So this, where you get
But in any case, what you do here is obviously change the range.
The range of the pitch, right?
It becomes with a limited travel sideways. It becomes kind of.
How many? Is that the maximum?
Funny as soon as you go there.
Can you go higher?
Yeah, try. I don't know actually. Oh yeah, okay.
96. Okay. Yes. 96 semitone bends.
For sure.
I've been waiting all my life for that.
That's the main selling feature of our product. No.
Nice.
And this is something that we really tweaked a lot in the last months that we had due to all this Shanghai lockdown stuff. Really make sure that the keybed interprets your gestures in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there are different stabilizations and different curves for the sideways movement. So depending on what you're trying to do, if you're playing only monophonic lines, it's super cool.
So we can see on the little display exactly how. So actually, that helps you gain how you want to kind of shape that curve.
If you go like that, and there's a certain limit when you're really pressing hard. I mean, I'm trained to it already, but when you're starting with the instrument and you do some wide chords, perhaps the pink is gonna slide up or something, and then when you notice that, you kind of dial it down just a little bit to the regular or to the medium, so that you can really go full on without having to fear that there's an odd bending out there.
Right.
But as I said, it's really surprisingly easy. So we have really cool feedback in the last months from people who say, it's doing exactly what I expected it to be. It's such a, when we compare to the thing that we're showing 3 years ago, when we did a first look here at Sonicstate.
That was
with Nick, I was still afraid of the instrument a little bit. Because I only had like 4 days before, and also it wasn't as refined when it comes to the mechanic, when it comes to the algorithms.
Okay.
Then now it's really, it just flows very naturally.
This is one of the advantages of the unfortunate hold-ups that we've had. Pandemic and
you can move up on the software side of things.
Right. So it's actually fairly mature now. Now it's finally with us. Okay, so we were going through this, and so we've got bending, then aftertouch, I guess.
Aftertouch, it's just how it reacts.
Defaults. So we can set the default sensitivity up. Okay.
So when it comes to the factory sounds, there's no sensitivity saved with the factory sounds themselves. And this is because we think that although it's very approachable, obviously over time you'll have a certain learning curve. And you'll find out that in your regular playing style, you normally use so many semitones for the lateral bending. You use that setting for the aftertouch or for the pressure. And what that does is just you dial in what you want to have as the standard.
I see.
Let's see, let's have it regular and have 2 semitones. That works most of the time. And then I just save this as the default. And unless I have saved some other sensitivity with the user presets that I talked about before, it will always going to take that default sensitivity and also keep it, although you change factory sounds.
This makes sense, because some people are just naturally going to have a lighter touch, some people are naturally going to have a heavier touch. So once you kind of figure this out, after you've had it for a short while, then you can then essentially customize it. So when you go to each of the presets, then it's going to be tailored to you.
You have at least you have a starting point. If you find out that it needs some specific adaptations, you can still save the user preset with the sensitivity glued onto it, so that it comes back when you.
Interesting. Okay, so then there's another button here which is playing. So if I press that, what's going on in this menu?
This is reserved for kind of MIDI effects. So right now there are 2 of them. There's pressure-weighted portamento. That's a feature that we could implement thanks to the delays that we had. A feature invented by Harken Audio. This is one of the possibilities. The other one is the arpeggiator. Just going to show you an example of that pressure-weighted portamento. Let's go to Classicana lead. There's a little icon actually that indicates what playing, if there's some playing mode going on, some playing feature is active right now. So there it shows the pressure glide. What it does is when you have the first starting note and you press another one, it's gonna take the average, so to say, between the pitches to allow you to gradually, depending on the pressure you apply, glide between those 2 notes. And there's an interval that you can set to tell the machine that make a portamento glide, monophonic glide, when you detect a pitch that is around, in this case, 12 semitones away. And at the same time, it means that if I were to press that bass note here, you have these portamento, you have several portamentos at the same time that you can control.
Wow. Gosh, it really does open up new dimensions of performance. It truly does. Sweet.
So this is the pressure-weighted portamento.
I like how a lot of these features are really fixated on empowering the musician with more expressivity, which makes sense. Okay, so lovely. So so then we mentioned then that there's 128 user presets. So those user spaces rather. So any of these adjustments that we've looked in these menus, then that would all save in that preset. Then sort of you would take your preset, make your adjustments to it, and then save it into the user.
When
bank.
you're in the presets menu and you're on the Save tab, there are saving options. You can decide to either save the sensitivity or don't save it, which is the default setting, and you can decide whether you want to save the playing settings or don't save it. In case you don't save it, it's going to take the default sensitivity that we mentioned before. So it's quite nice to have it always customized to what you intend to do, what your personal preference is.
So I was kind of curious then about using it as some kind of drumming, could you show us some kind of percussive or drumming features, presets?
Yeah, for sure. And it goes very well together with the second option of the playing menu, which is this MPE arpeggiator.
Jumping ahead, yes. Yes, we talked about that. Yeah, let's combine.
So let's see what we have there. So there's a kind of percussive sound. For the moment, let's see. I'm just going to deactivate the arpeggiator. So these are the interactions of the sound with the keybed.
Yeah.
Itself, obviously, you also have the macros here to control. In this case, it's not the resonance of the filter, but more like how long will the instrument itself move. But moving back to the arpeggiator and starting it. We could actually play together if you wish to.
Yeah,
just one note.
Okay.
What you realize is already without any additional interactions, what it does, it detects the pressure of every note. So the notes that you press down more obviously will be louder or whatever changes due to the sound. But then apart from this, there's also another interaction. There are two assign possibilities. Just move over there so you can see them. So what we did, we assigned the bend right to ratcheting. So what we could do, when you bend to the right, and when you bend to the left, I think it's gonna even do some
swing.
Some swing, yeah. So this is assigned to the bend left.
That's bonkers.
So much more than just your regular arpeggiator where you hold down a chord and then...
And I'm assuming that we could clock that arpeggiator to an external clock.
Yeah, so the parameters, the general parameters are there. I mean, I could also... Could you press the hold button for me, please?
Yeah.
Too late. Sorry.
Sorry. Oh no! There we go. Gotcha.
Seems rather complicated.
Yeah,
so obviously there's the tempo, and if I click the tempo, it would grab an external clock sync. There are different patterns. Obviously, there's the division of time, the standard gate. If the gate isn't assigned to an assigned tab. The standard octave range. So these are grayed out right now, and you see that these are to bend left and assigned to bend right.
Little rocking horse of swing. I love these little icons. They're really cool.
And some rise and fall parameters that smoothen out like the amplitude of what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these are these are the things that you can access there.
A very deep arpeggiator, really.
Yeah, we could go for, let's check just to have a more synthesizer-like sound with the arpeggiator as well. If I can identify it. Oh, yeah. Ah. In this case, it adds another octave when I'm pressing into the aftertouch.
Ah.
And when again, it's on hold, perfect. I can then fiddle around. With the different aspects of the sound, again with the synth macros. So lots of playgrounds.
Yeah, wow.
With the MPE arpeggiator.
Yeah. So let's just talk about the MPE then, because MPE obviously has come along quite a lot in the last few years, or certainly in terms of DAW starting to support it. So Cubase, for instance, I'm guessing if we were to USB this into a computer, we can record all of our MPE movements. So
yeah, when you hook it up to a computer, it's going to show 2 USB MIDI ports.
Right.
One will send out whatever you've set up within this external MIDI mode, and the other one, the second one, the Harken port, so to say, it's always going to send out the MPE plus data that's coming from the device. So this is exactly the stream of data that is used to communicate from our augmented keyboard action to the Eagan Matrix. So it's totally possible to record this in your DAW. The ability to edit it in a comfortable way depends on whether your DAW offers that kind of.
Yeah, that's going to vary very differently. Cubase you can do that individual note editing and stuff, which I guess makes a really great would make a really great editing platform for this. But yeah, that's going to vary, isn't it? You'd have to check your DAW's kind of support, I suppose.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So right. So physically, then, so we've been having a look at this. I noticed at the back then there is these little kind of screw holes which I did ask about at Superbooth, and you can mount the beautiful resonator on the back there. Any other plans for those screw holes?
Yeah. We thought about the future. Still can't give you details about it, but we're thinking about several accessoires, like having something that enables you to put a second keyboard on top without the need to your actually keyboard stand having that option.
Right.
Just like put another machine on there directly. Just stuff basic like a sheet music holder, stuff like that. But it's all. We just wanted to make sure that it's gonna be a cool ecosystem for years to come.
Yeah.
Although I can't tell you right now what exactly we will publish or not publish in the future when it comes to that.
Can you use this part of the keyboard for anything?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It's more like a gimmicky thing, but still just to show off the sensitivity.
Yeah. Because I guess really this is just to do with facilitating the mechanism.
Yeah,
of the keys.
it's a whole key lever. This whole thing, so it's required that you have this part over there. But if I were looking for some, let's say, mallet sounds, and if I were to lower the note on to a very, very low amount, and if I were to play along there, it offers me a chromatic glissando, which would be difficult to do on a white black.
Okay, that's cool. I was kind of curious about that. Yeah, nice. Now another thing I've been puzzling over, because it's such an unusual shape. How would we transport this around? What is there a dedicated bag case for it, or is
there is. Although with this form factor, during the time where we didn't have our own specialized solution, we used all kinds of hard cases with 49 keyboard support, so to say, and they work great. So generally the keyboard is very rigid, so you don't have to be worried that it's going to be broken more easily than any other regular keyboard.
Okay, it's good to know.
But we also designed our very own our very own soft bag here.
Yeah.
Soft case.
Cool.
With rucksack. Do you say rucksack?
Yeah, rucksack.
Me as a German, it's
yeah, that's good.
rucksack strips. And the instrument went all the way from Frankfurt to Bristol. Yeah. And it still works.
Okay, that's good to know. It's good to know.
It's quite a nice thing. Also comes with a rain cover with a compartment for laptop and stuff like that. But I'm not going to open it because there's my sweater and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, good to know. But I mean, but just that is an optional extra though. That doesn't come with it. You'd have to buy that as a separate.
Yeah, it's on our website.
Yes, yeah. Okay, great. Well, I think maybe let's have a listen to some more sound things. I'm just really enjoying hearing you playing it. Yeah, sweet. Mild kisses.
Yeah, but I don't want to exchange roles with the sound designers who have to come up with new names every time we release a product, hundreds of them.
Interesting. So those rolls are activated by pressure then?
Exactly, so the different dimensions here.
Yeah.
You have like a percussive sound in the first pressure, but also depending on how hard you press, I mean, you could also go very smoothly, you wouldn't even hear it. You would just have that faint oscillator going on. Then you have this blowing noisy sound coming in the aftertouch. In this case, I deactivated the lateral movement, but when you're going up with the synth macro that is called aftertouch rate, with a little funny bunny, with the Easter bunny in the display, you can define how fast this ratcheting is going on, but still it's going to also depend on how deep you press into the aftertouch.
Can you lock those things to the external clock if you want those kind of, or would those be tied?
That would require extra programming. I don't think it is in there right now. It's only like when we're talking about the delay effects, the global effects there.
Those will follow the
clock. So
yeah. I'm feeling we've covered a lot of ground. So yeah, more sounds. Let's have some more.
So besides just having pressure and aftertouch and the sideways movement, the fact that we know the position of every note at every time enables us to go into some new grounds where, for example, you trigger a sound by releasing the key or by the motion, by the acceleration. So right here, we call this motion shake.
It's curious because it's that really bizarre mixture of very organic, acoustic-y sounding things, but with this otherworldliness about it.
Yeah, it's kind of a philosophy that we also did with our latest plug instrument, together with Applied Acoustic Systems. Imagine, where we kind of want to have something familiar that you can rely to, that sounds organic to your ear, but at the same time there's something where you go, oh no, that's a new kind of aspect to it. Nice. So really try to start forward thinking with the sound design as well to match up with the potential of the instrument.
But just coming back to this idea of like using this in a the usability of this. There was a little thing that I did actually notice that I really like. Headphone socket at the front, which is really nice. Yeah. But there's also like a volume control, which actually.
Yeah, there's a retractable knob, as the technical specifications say.
And you could turn down a master volume.
Yeah, and you can pre-listen for whatever use you want to.
Yeah, so that volume and that volume are sort of
they are totally independent from each other. They're separate boards, in fact.
Yeah, so that's really handy as well. How heavy is it then? I won't move it now, but
it's about 9 kilos.
9 kilos,
something like that. So it's pretty easily liftable.
I noticed so there's no strap buttons on it though. For
you're free to do some DIY on that one, but it's not.
I was kind of hoping.
Yeah, that was the secret. Actually, I wasn't able to talk about that. Right. Yeah, it wasn't allowed to.
Big kind of harness.
Yeah, we're trying to bring out a metal harness for fantasy fans of
Okay, brilliant. Well, I think, Chris, thank you so much for bringing this in to show us. I think it's amazing. So, price, cost. So if you were to, when it goes on sale, do we know how much it's going to be, the final retail price?
Yeah, at least for the moment, we know that all the backers who supported us, obviously, we keep the originally promised price, which is an MSRP of $17.99. We're only talking euros here and dollars. I don't know my way around pounds. Okay. We try to keep it in that region, but the reality is that since we originally announced it, that was 3 years ago.
Lots of things have changed.
So as you know, extremely risen transport costs and component costs. So we might have to adapt that. But for the first, when we enter the regular market for the first time, still there, the price of $17.99 is still where we're aiming at.
Okay.
Just later in the year, it all depends on the demand and everything.
Of course, these kind of things are very difficult to sort of predict. But thanks so much for coming in, and
it was my pleasure.
Amazing.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chris. Amazing. Thank you.